Today, I'm joined by an incredibly talented artist, a new friend of mine, Jake Luke. Welcome to the podcast, dude.
Yo, what's up, man?
How's
Happy
everything?
to be here.
Yeah, how's everything going, dude?
It's going good. I actually did want to say before we even get started, I've seen a bunch of these and I got mad respect for it because it's cool to see what you're doing with this.
Dude, it's been a lot of fun too. Because you know what's really cool about the podcast too? It's like it doesn't have to be just a collaboration with artists. It's like, you know, I have a lot of friends that I have in the music industry that aren't in front of the camera always.
Sure.
So it's a way that I can highlight them too.
Yeah,
but
it's fun to see a lot of the behind the scenes stuff. I agree.
Yeah, and I want to talk to you a little bit. I want to get right into it, dude.
Yeah, let's go.
So I know you toured with the homies Abstract and Dylan Owen.
Yep.
How did that go? How did that come to be?
Yeah, it was great. So we actually have a mutual friend. I'll give him a shout out. His name's Ellie Waves. He runs an ad agency. And he knew Dylan Reese from working with him. And Ellie knew that I was very interested in the live space. And so when they were doing that tour and setting it up, they reached out to me and were like, hey, would you be interested? And then made it happen. So
yeah. What's something that you learned from that tour? Because I know I've known all of those dudes. I've known Dylan Owen for
sure
12 years.
That's one of the reasons I reached out to you and stuff too.
Yeah, I've known those guys forever. But so I know they're always like dropping gems and
for sure.
They're good dudes. Like
a lot. I would say a lot from that tour. Could almost go person by person, but yeah, I would say the biggest takeaways, I would say I learned a lot from Dylan Reese from a lot of the behind the scenes stuff, especially just how to be professional, working with venues, making sure that everyone knows what's going on, communicating. In that tour, he acted as the TM, the tour manager. And as you know, too, sometimes these tours are DIY, like the tour that we're on right now. There is no TM. And so that puts stress on other people or whatever. And so it's just like making sure everything's good. You know what I mean? Especially going into it or whatever.
Thank you for tuning in to the Mike Squires and Friends podcast. You can support by subscribing on YouTube or downloading on your preferred podcast platform. And definitely go do that because it helps us grow and I can have more incredible guests on the podcast. The Mike Squires and Friends podcast is proudly sponsored by DistroKid. Looking to broaden your musical horizons as an artist? Discover DistroKid. With its smooth and rewarding music distribution platform, DistroKid offers unlimited uploads while ensuring artists retain 100% of their royalties and earnings. Join the community of over 1 million artists who trust DistroKid to distribute their music across major platforms like Spotify, Apple Music, YouTube, TikTok, Tidal, and so many others. Having personally used DistroKid since 2018, I can attest to their superiority amongst distribution services. Collaborating with fellow artists has become effortless, especially with the ability to easily send splits of songs, streamlining the creative process. With the DistroKid app, accessing these benefits is now more convenient than ever. Safely sign up or log in with two-factor authentication, upload releases on the fly, monitor earnings, and withdraw funds from your DistroKid bank. Stay updated on royalties through push notifications, effortlessly share hyperfollow links, manage account details seamlessly, and track streaming stats from Spotify and Apple. Additionally, explore Mixia for professional-grade mastering, DistroVid for music video distribution, and Instant Share for secure file sharing with collaborators, producers, and more. The DistroKid app is available on both iOS and Android. Download it today from the App Store or Google Play Store to revolutionize your music career. Visit distrokid.com/VIP/Mike Squires to get 30% off your first year membership. Now sit back, relax, and enjoy this episode of Mike Squires and Friends. Yeah, and let me just paint the picture for people because right now we're down a corridor in a hotel that you're staying at, and you literally are on tour right now with Moonlander.
Yep.
You know, I know that you just packed up your car or truck super heavily.
Yeah.
You know, what's some of the things that you do to prepare for tour?
Oh man, there's a lot that goes into it. I mean, like the music side of stuff, obviously, you know, it's like you're making all your mixes and stuff for your live space and practicing and rehearsing kind of what you're doing with that. But then, you know, on top of that, it's like you got to figure out like the level that I'm at. I'm basically my own tour manager, you know, so we're figuring out, you know, all the routing stuff, the hotels or Airbnbs is what we ended up doing on this tour. And then just like, I mean, just all the stuff, make sure you got all the gear, you know, everything that you think you might need plus a little more. Cause as you know too, stuff just happens like, and you got to roll with the punches and stuff. So
Yeah, I've done my fair share of touring. I've done every tour from the Dodge Durango tour where you're driving around the country in a Dodge Durango, dude.
Yeah.
I've done the van tour. I've done the Sprinter tour.
Right.
I've been able to do the bus tour. So I'm like grateful I've been able to see all aspects. But I will say, you know, doing the grind tours, the Dodge Durango tour, the minivan, the car will make you appreciate
the Sprinter. Yeah,
dude. When we got the Sprinter, I like shed a tear to, like, because it was like such a moment. Because like, you know, there are some shows like that we would have to go to, and the car would be so packed that I'd have a box on my lap for the 4-hour drive.
That's like how it is, though. You know, like, so yeah, that's funny. So on the Abstract and Dylan Owen tour, we were in a minivan, and I guess this is another thing I really learned from that tour was it's really nice to, shout out Ian, have a person helping you in these situations. And it was one of the things going into this Moonlander tour that I knew that I wanted to, be able to bring enough space to be able to bring merch, because that's one of the only ways as an opener I can make my money back. And also it deepens the connection with people. So like that's really important to me, because it's like that's really what I'm out here doing is planting seeds, you know? And then, so then on this tour, though, they actually ended up getting he was going to get a minivan, and one of the other openers, they went together and they ended up getting a Sprinter instead. And so I think he was real happy about that. But I drove my butt down here all the way from Minnesota. And then I went to Michigan to pick Ian up, and then we drove down to Charlotte. So it's a grind, even before the tour started. Yeah,
some people might not realize this too, but like, with touring, like that's something you have to build up as well. Like,
you don't start out the gate, you know, being like, hey, I can go sell 100 tickets in a market. It doesn't work like that.
Yeah, because I've seen artists that have millions of streams and can't put people in a room. And like, you know, vice versa. I've seen people who have, you know, not as many streams. Like, you know, a good example of this, like my homie Watsky, he has like 400,000, 500,000 monthly listeners, but he can do New York City back to back, like 2,000 people. You know what I mean?
For sure. Prof is a great example of that.
That's what I'm saying, dude. So it's like something that you have to build up, dude.
For sure. And being self-aware enough is also like a really key thing. I was going to go into exactly what you were talking about. So like even my friends, when I told them who I was going on tour with for this run with Moon, they were like, man, you got more Spotify monthly listeners than he does or whatever. Why aren't you headlining? It's like, because I haven't put that time in to be able to know that I'm going to get a certain amount of tickets in a certain market, you know. And it's like people don't necessarily understand that one, for sure Spotify or really any social media numbers or anything is for sure not the end all be all, but even like, you know, more so it's just they're different spaces. It's almost two completely different businesses, really, when you think about it.
It definitely is, dude, because you have to like build up like touring. You really have to build up because, you know, you grow that just by continuously, you know, popping back up to like the same markets over and over. And it's a little bit more people each time.
Exactly.
Yeah. So I want to bring it to your streaming, because I know at the beginning of this year, you know, your girl got you a plaque for like hitting 1 million streams in January.
This guy does his homework. All right.
That's what I'm saying. But now at the end of this year, you know, Spotify Wrap just happened. You got 6 million streams this year. That's a lot of growth in the year.
Yeah, man.
What do you think something that's contributed to that?
I would say the biggest thing for me, and I don't hide behind this, I'll actually even take it back, like even a little bit further. In the beginning of 2023, I literally had less than 100 monthly listeners, which is crazy. So I went like from 0 to 100 in about a year, and then 100,000 monthly listeners, and then this year I've gotten to 200 and then kind of been in between that, like 170 or something for a little, like a few months or whatever. But just strictly on streams, I would say the biggest thing that's helped me is Instagram ads and making like a dedicated budget that I was comfortable with, and then doing direct marketing from Instagram ads to Spotify.
Yeah, can you go into that? Because I run a lot of Instagram ads myself.
Absolutely.
And I do find that they are very helpful. But sometimes I'm like, you know, you'd want the conversion to be higher, and maybe there's something that you could tell that could be helpful for another artist out there.
So it all depends on too, like what you're optimizing for, right? Because like there's different angles, right? If you're trying to go specific for streams, there's a certain angle. If you're trying to go for Spotify followers, there's a different angle. If you're trying to go for Instagram followers, there's a different angle. Just as far as like how you're setting up the campaigns. I mean, I would say like overall too, it kind of, there's pros and cons with running them in general too, I would say too, because like it is great for converting to Spotify, doing Instagram ads, but sometimes I do feel like there's a lack of attachment to your brand when running them, and that kind of goes back to like the whole touring thing too, where it's like I just put like such an emphasis on like real connections with people, because I think that's something that they can't take away from you. And like another big thing, it's like even side topic sort of, but I'm real big on putting my number out there for people to text me, because it's like that's something that social media can't take away from me. And you have like 100% open rate on a lot of that stuff. Like somebody's gonna see a text. Unless you're too annoying about it and they block you or whatever. But
yeah. So when you say text, like it's your real actual number?
I have a second phone number on my phone. So yeah, I'm literally out here texting people.
Oh, that's insane, dude.
Yeah.
And you know, another thing too about some of the ad conversion you're talking about, because you're saying like it's a little less personal.
That. Yeah.
But the thing that's interesting, I think if you're doing a couple things, because like, you know, if you're doing things where you're going on tour, you know, you're making that real connection with some of the other stuff mixed in.
For sure. Yeah. So like to me, it's like you have to have a more well-rounded approach to this if you want to be sustainable long-term. Like I know one or a person that I really look up to that I was like one of my favorite episodes that he did was Greaves.
Greaves is the man, dude.
He's the fucking man. And are we supposed to swear?
No, you can swear, dude. I know I like wasn't trying to swear in his video earlier, but like I do swear.
I do. He's a man. I actually, I've known about him for a really long time, being from Minnesota, and he was signed to Rhyme Sayers and stuff. But yeah, just like how he goes about his business and stuff, and just like I've just always appreciated the route that he took. And so it's kind of almost more like an old school versus new school thing. But like I like building things that they can't take away from you. Like I could have a viral moment, something could go crazy. I mean, we've seen this so many times, right? There's like the people that go up and then they come straight back down. If you like slowly build something, you know, making personal connections, it's not even necessarily like a time thing. It's more just like making real connections with people ends up being something that they can't take away from you.
Yeah, and respect, dude. Like I think when you do the slow build, you gain the respect where you're able to do things regardless of what your numbers are.
Exactly,
like,
for sure.
They're not doing it because of the numbers a lot of time. They're doing it because like, oh,
he's been with you.
Yeah, he's been in the game.
That's what it is. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, so I think building respect, but I want to kind of go a little bit back into the ads, and then I want to change it up.
Yeah,
you're so good because I'm just personally curious. Like, what's a campaign that was? I'd like to know two things.
Go ahead.
What was a campaign that was very successful for you, and which one maybe didn't work out the best, and what did you learn from it?
Okay, yeah. So I think like there is a lot with strategy within ads. What for me personally, I know like my most successful ones, I ended up using one of two things. Either like people will a lot of times use video cuts from like movies or shows and then put lyrics over the top of your stuff or over the top of your song. Another really successful one is I've got this guy that makes just really, really fire AMV edits.
What's an AMV? Animated music video?
Yes, animes. Yes. So then they'll just like cut it and then like make it really visually appealing. Sometimes throw on lyrics to songs, sometimes not. Those convert really well, but it's also like, I'll say this a bunch. There's just so many factors in it too, because it's like my stuff is pretty pop rap, as you know. But it's like that might not necessarily be the best conversion if I'm doing rock or if I'm doing country or if I'm doing, so there's like a lot of factors that you have to. Basically, the thing with ads really is just you got to initially throw a bunch of stuff at the wall.
Trial and error.
See what sticks, and then just keep doubling down and tweaking until you get it down to where it's like super successful. Like my first campaigns weren't crazy great, right? The conversion rate wasn't great, but we just kept trying. And then eventually we figured out, okay. And to me, like it's a combination of how good is the song, how good is the edit, and then, you know, beyond that, then it just becomes like targeting and stuff too. Because it's like, okay, I might be getting, you know, a certain amount in a certain country. Okay, let's subdivide that, and then we're gonna put a certain budget for that. Like, there's a lot of nitty gritty stuff with ads. But yeah, targeting is a big part of it too.
One thing that I find interesting, which I actually don't know the answer to, because I'll put ads on stuff all the time, right? And sometimes I'll put $30 behind something, and it'll be like, I don't know, 4,000 to 5,000 impressions, right?
Sure.
That'll get. But then I've done the exact same $30, and it'll be like 110,000 to 200,000 impressions.
Right.
Why? Do you know the answer to this?
I actually don't really know the answer to that.
Because sometimes like it's almost like a stock, because I'll like go in and out and it'll be different numbers.
But here's the thing, like it depends on, again, there's so many factors. It depends on what you're optimizing for. Like if you're doing, really what ends up mattering is not how many impressions it has. It matters how, actually I think I do know the answer. I just formulated it in my head. The impressions don't really matter. And usually you're optimizing for a click through, right? That's what you're actually paying for, is the click.
Yeah.
So it's like it can show, sometimes it has to show an extra 50,000 people
for you to get
that one click.
I see what you're saying.
Yeah. And then that ends up determining to your cost per click, right? Because then it's like how many people it has to show to get the one person to click through. So I believe that's what it is.
No, that makes a lot of sense to me, dude.
So basically it's like if you have a lot more impressions for the same amount of money, the ad's probably worse. Yeah. Actually, probably.
Yeah, and I feel like you kind of answered the like part of the question where it's like a lesson that you learned basically from, just trial and error. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like I'm sure you've had campaigns that didn't work and you're let's not do that again.
Yeah, and then there's also like a self-awareness too. I've talked a lot with different people, like sometimes with songs, this is like goes into ads, but also just like a mentality of music and songs in general when you're releasing them is not being too attached to ones that you love versus ones that actually become successful. And like the market will tell you how successful something is or isn't. But like I've had ones where I'm like, I know this is the one. And it just doesn't perform like you thought it would. And then you can see that both in, streams, engagement on social media, and then also the ad click-through rate. It ads and just the all of it in general will tell you if it's a good song or not.
Yeah, I'm going to change up the topic a little bit, but I think this was actually very important to talk about because I'm sure there are artists that are listening who are at that 100 monthly listeners. And, to go from, 100 to even 100,000 in such a short period of time it's a true milestone, dude.
Thanks,
and like, I got you, dude.
Really?
But, yeah, so I want to pull it back to like some of your music too. Like what was one of the first songs where you felt like, oh, this could really happen? Like I see this being a career for myself.
It's probably the song that's parked on my number one right now, which is Summer Nights, which the song itself is kind of funny. So it's kind of like a country pop rap tinge song. And I record a bunch for, my homie Blake, shout out Blake, and he makes a lot of country music. And one day I was like, let me try and make a country-ish song, right? And also where I'm from, I live in the middle of nowhere, and I live in Minnesota, but I tell people it's almost Iowa because I live like pretty close to Sioux Falls.
Okay.
Yeah, it's out in the middle of nowhere. But anyway, a lot of the people where I'm from, when they hear I do music, they're like, oh, you make country? I'm like, nah, dude. And so anyway, I made the hook of that song kind of as a joke, and I sent it to my buddy Blake, and I was like, actually, this is kind of fire. Let me finish this. And so I did, and I made it in such a way that it's obviously like personal to me and stuff. And then the song just like did really well. Like it goes back to that same example. Like I wasn't really expecting it, but it just did really well. And I was like, okay, yeah, it's like everything. It started moving on Spotify. The ad was doing really well. And then a lot of people were reaching out to me off of it. And still to this day, like I released that song in 2023.
It's not even that long ago. It was last year.
It's not at all. But I, even this year, it's done way better than it even did last year. Because it's like keeps continuing to grow, which has kind of shocked me, but
yeah,
it is
dude.
what it is. That's kind of somehow how it goes.
It's cool because at a certain point, then you start like competing with yourself because now the goal is to kind of dethrone that song.
For sure.
And
sure. You're always like comparing, like, oh, can I do this first week, or whatever. Yeah, you're always.
Dude, my biggest song was.
It's easy to get lost in that too, but go ahead.
Yeah, well, actually, let's talk on that. But I was gonna say my biggest song held the number one spot since like 2017, dude.
For sure.
And then finally got dethroned this year. And I'm like,
Yeah.
it's
How
like,
does that feel?
It's good, dude.
Because I haven't had to really get to that point yet.
Yeah. And I feel good about it too. Like, and this year was a weird year because my streaming was like good. Like, it's crazy because like I had 1 million people listen to me, like as far as like listeners this year,
okay.
which is like
mine was very similar actually.
Insane. Like, you know what I mean? It's an insane amount of number.
Yeah.
But I had a moment too, and like I don't want people to think I'm a spoiled little brat when I say this, but I got a moment where like I didn't see like a huge amount of growth from last year.
Yep.
And like, you know, when you break it down, 1 million people is insane.
It is.
You couldn't really ask for
sure.
You know what I mean?
For sure.
But like, there's always that feeling where it's like, yo, I want to grow.
That's because that's that dog in you.
Yeah, dude.
I mean, you got to have that in music business too. Like it's a blessing and a curse. Like you continually, the people that are most successful want to continue to level up.
Yeah,
and that's
dude.
just what it is.
And it, like I think I did in some aspects, even though my streaming was like I still grew. Like it
For
wasn't
sure.
like a 0% growth, but it was like
for sure. I know exactly what you're talking
the
about.
minimal margins. So I was
exactly
like,
what you're talking about.
But then there was like, it was weird because I had a weird year where it's like, I feel, you know, because of the 50 States project, my network increased insane, dude.
Yep.
Like
That's
even,
probably why I'm here, honestly.
bro, it's like my network is like, for example, I know that you did a show with Denim and I've like FaceTime Denim who like, you
Doing
know,
another one with him this year.
That's
New
on
Year's Eve, actually, yeah.
Well, that's what I'm saying, dude, where it's like, you know, I probably wouldn't have known him otherwise, you know?
Yeah, for sure.
So how did you guys
sure.
connect?
So he's actually geographically very like close to me.
That's what I figured.
Yeah. I live like an hour from Sioux Falls, and we just did a song together not that long ago. I went out to his crib and made a song, but I actually originally reached out to him. I wasn't really aware of him because of where I live. I used to live in the Twin Cities area, and then I moved back home to like where I'm from, or the area that I'm from. And then once I did that, it became where it's like, it's almost isolating out there or whatever. So I wasn't doing a ton of like local shows anymore. And on that Dylan and Abstract tour, we were trying to get a date locked down to Sioux Falls. And I knew I could do a decent amount there, but Abstract and Dylan were kind of like, I don't know how many I'm going to do out there because it's kind of the middle of nowhere.
Yeah.
And then I was like searching around trying to find somebody else we could maybe like link up with to do just like tag team a show basically. And I ended up linking up with him. It didn't end up working on that tour, but we stayed in contact and now we did a song and we're doing another show. And I think we'll continue to do more because he's a really cool guy. But
yeah, dude, networking is pretty much
it's everything.
Everything in this
your network
industry
is your net worth.
It's really the truth too. And I think people dude, I have been going to more shows recently than ever, dude. Like,
dude, and you get a lot off of that. Like even we just did a show on this Moonlander tour in Charlotte, and I met some other people that are like really well connected, and it just you just never know who you're gonna meet just putting yourself out there.
Yeah, it's funny. We talked about, you know, both Dylan's earlier in the pop. I'm literally going to see their show tonight. I was just thinking, what's my next show? I was like, I'm literally going to see Dylan and Dylan.
I think
tonight.
we're going to see them. Where are you seeing them?
I'm seeing them in New Haven tonight.
Oh, okay. Because I think we're catching their New York show, I think.
Oh, amazing. But then I'm catching you in Moonlander in New York, dude. So there's a lot going on, dude.
I feel that.
What's a big hurdle that you had to overcome in your career?
I would say so. I feel like kind of like I still even like within music, like I'm almost feel like an outsider sometimes. Like so I have a wife and kids, and I would say that's probably the number one thing, to be honest with you, just because I'm like I'm not willing to put them out just for my success. You know what I mean? Like being a good dad is like very important to me. So I'll take it back. I actually don't know if you know this, which will be fun. So when I was at like 24, I think it was 2015, I actually went on a 27-date tour with Cam Meekins.
Oh, amazing, dude. I know Cam. Yeah.
I know you do. I didn't know if you knew this. That's why I was holding
No,
this.
because you know what? Your gram only went so far back, dude.
For sure. I do like archived a bunch of my stuff. So, well, there was like a whole thing. I was actually, I can't even say, it's too embarrassing. I used to have a different moniker that I used to go under, and I toured with that with him, and that's actually how I got linked up with a bunch of other people, like Matt Corman I'm pretty good friends with, and even like the Dylans, and I'm just weirdly connected with a bunch of Boston people.
Yeah. No, that's cool, dude. Yeah.
But after that tour, or like actually during that tour, I met my wife, it was not on one of the shows, but we had a mutual friend, and we just linked up in between one of the shows or whatever, and we really hit it off. And then after that tour, we got together, and then within like not that long of a time, we had our first kid. And I like at the time just wasn't making that much from music, and so it was just like I just had to like stare myself in the mirror and be like, I don't want to be a deadbeat dad. You know what I mean? And it meant a lot to me to be involved. And so I basically just kind of put music on break for like a while, probably 4 or 5 years. I was like still doing it on and off, but during that time too, I actually had worked for a guy doing cell phone repair.
Okay.
Yeah, totally off the wall. But I was really good at it, and I ended up like managing that whole business. And so after a certain point, I was like, nah, let me just make the bag and I'll just do it myself. So I started my own, and I ran that business kind of back where I'm from for like, from 2017 to I think I closed it technically in 2023, but I was on the way out in like 2022. So I ran it for a while, and but there was a certain time in that period where I was like, I gotta get back into music, man. I just like could feel it. I almost had like a midlife crisis with it, just because I was grinding really hard on that business because it just took a lot of my time and focus. But I just knew I really wanted to get back into music.
Your heart like wasn't in it all the way.
Exactly. I just was like, I was like pretty checked out. It was making good money. It's like a common story, right? It's like,
no, I find it very interesting because I didn't know that about you.
Yeah.
And it's like, to go on, like to be on a tour.
Yep.
What's that feeling of putting it down though? You know what I mean? Because I know your priorities changed.
For sure. It was really hard. And I think that's like kind of a testament too to like, people think that music is like a certain thing as far as like how much money there is in it. And when you know the nitty gritty, it's tough. It's tough out there to make, like, a lot more people than you think make ends meet in a way that you don't know. You know what I mean? Like they're either got a different job or just whatever to be able to bankroll the situation.
Oh yeah, thousands.
Like,
especially
I'm even there now to this day.
Even when you like in music, you kind of have to, especially when you're like getting things up and running. Because
sure.
like,
but even at like a medium level, there's a lot of guys that are still doing. Like I think even like I heard to re-reference this, Grieve say that he works sound at a venue.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
He's like pretty successful in this business, and he's still out there grinding.
Yeah, because like you, especially maybe I'm not there in my life, but like I think when you have a family, it's
also different.
There's a lot of added pressure
for sure. Yeah, I mean, and that's like it all is kind of encompassing as far as like. I just didn't want to be a deadbeat dad. I wanted to be able to at least provide like a minimum comfort level for my family.
Yeah, because the difference too, like for me, I get by, but I don't know if I would if I had a kid because
it's different. Your expenses are just more.
Yeah,
that's just what it is.
And I'm also definitely willing to eat more shit. You know what I mean? Like I don't want my kid to eat shit. Like
that's exact. That's dude. That you're nail on the head right there. Because I was like, I've actually said this a lot. It's funny that you said that because I've said. And again, I'm like not grateful for my kids because I feel like it's what keeps me motivated. If I didn't have kids though, I would have been willing to be broke to be able to just figure it out basically, but I'm not willing to do that for my kids. You know what I mean? No,
I do know exactly what you mean too, because it's funny right now where I'm at in my career, like I've just been like, not that I don't care, and I am responsible. I'm somebody who's very responsible with money.
Yeah.
But I've definitely been spending way more because I just know that I need to like.
It's hard. There's a balance there. You do have to invest though.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah,
like,
you have to reinvest continually. That's how you level up.
Yeah, and I think people don't understand because I think there's a lot of people that'll do music and they'll just stick the song at the wall and just like, let's do it. I hope it works,
Man, Ian and I have this conversation all the time. It's like the amount of people that will spend money on a chain but won't spend money on marketing it's laughable, dude. It's like you got to figure out a way. It's a business, dude. Well, there's that part of it too. Yeah, but you have to be willing to get it in front of people's faces. Like we're in a time now where there's more released songs than ever. So how do you cut through the noise? And it's like there's a variety of ways to do that, but like you have to be willing to put it in front of people's faces. There's multiple ways to do that. Some people are great at content. I just knew like I still grind as much as I possibly can, but like I have limitations just like with, literally have a full-time job whenever I'm not on tour. I've got kids or whatever, but I still do as much as I possibly can. I record for some other people too. And yeah, but what I was gonna say is some people are great at content and that works for them. They can get stuff to get eyeballs. Some people, they need to use ads. Some people that's, you know, grinding, doing shows. It's just like, there's more than one way to get there, but like you gotta be willing to do something.
Yeah, and one thing that I've learned is always not to put your eggs in one basket too. You know, I think it's very good to diversify
for sure.
what you got going on because, you know, sometimes a little here, a little here, a little here adds up to a lot.
Exactly.
Yeah, so
exactly.
Another thing I want to talk to you about, like, well, you know what? I want to finish the story because
go ahead.
You take this hiatus from music, hiatus.
For sure.
At what moment are you like?
Yeah, so I was kind of, like I said, I kind of had like almost like a midlife crisis, and I just knew I needed to get back into it.
What does that look like? Can I ask you what a midlife crisis, like what is a midlife crisis to you look like? You don't have to be too, like, I don't want to put you on blast.
I'll be like very honest about it. I feel like for me, it was like almost like a mental breakdown of sorts. It was just like a funny thing where my wife took the kids to go see her dad because her dad lives in Louisiana. And I had to stay home just because I had to keep my business going. And it was like for a couple weeks or something. But in that time, like I always had my equipment. And so I literally was like, I had a room in our house. It was okay set up. But I was like, you know what? I'm going to switch it up. I brought everything up into my living room, posted up in my living room while she was gone. And it was like, I was like working on stuff or whatever. And I was like, man, why did I quit? And then there was also, I think, a portion of like, I'm not going to say FOMO, but like a little bit where it was like, there's some people that I knew when I started that because they didn't stop, got to where they wanted to go. And that was a really hard pill to swallow for me, where it was like,
if I had just kept this up.
If I had just kept this up, I would be further along. But it's like, it's also like, I knew what my values were too. So it's like, it just is what it is. But then it's like,
there would have been a trade-off somewhere.
Exactly. But also like, there's like an element of like, and my wife is always like really good about this. It like, if I complain about something for too long, she almost gets pissed where she's like, all right, what are you doing about it then? Get out there and make it can happen. You know what I mean?
You need people in your life.
Shout out
like
Matt Corman, MIH. He was actually really instrumental in the beginning too. So like when I was
just was with Matt 2 days ago, just FYI. Yeah, I was at,
that's funny.
He was opening for Fora and Tyler Yahweh, and I went to go hang out with him in the city. Literally that 2 nights ago. Yeah.
Okay.
That's funny. Yeah. But my bad. I didn't mean to interrupt.
No, you're good. Yeah. So he was like really instrumental in the beginning too, actually. So he was doing this thing before he was kind of like, this was his transition into going full time. He was doing consulting for people, basically like trying to help some people that he thought had potential and try and like level them up, basically. And so I actually did that with him, and he like helped me kind of get my branding straight. He's actually the reason that I changed my brand. And like he helped me kind of like narrow that down and stuff in the beginning.
It's dope to hear stories like this because, you know, I obviously know Matt, but I would have never known that.
For sure. Yeah, so Matt and I are pretty connected. And I think, I don't want to speak for him, but I do think he's like, there's like a certain element of he likes seeing my growth because he like feels like he has a hand in it or whatever, which he really does. And like he was nice enough to like listen when I had 0 monthly listeners, you know what I mean? And be like, yo, I think this is what it should be or whatever. And he kind of helped me get there in the beginning.
I think that's what separates like certain people in the industry, dude. People that are just like willing to either listen, help, or just however they can, you know?
For sure.
Like I know that there's been both ways. I know that there's people that I've helped, and I know that there's people that have helped me, you know what I mean? And like it makes those relationships stronger, especially when you know that there's like, at that moment, like if you had 0 monthly listeners, it's like he's not doing it because he's like,
exactly,
you know what I mean? He's doing it just because
for sure.
He wants to help.
I guess full transparency, he was charging money for it at the time.
Yeah,
but still, it was like he only wanted to work with certain people.
Yeah, no, and like at the end of the day,
some stuff is like transactional and stuff in the business too,
and it has to be though. You know what I mean? Like I don't want people to get deterred because you know there's somebody. so for all the 50 States songs, right?
Yeah.
I've got everybody to do it off the strength. Everybody has done the entire project off the strength. So if you go listen to that, except for one artist. And there's one artist, I'm not going to say who it is.
We'll say off camera.
Yeah, we'll say off camera. But it was transactional. But it was like, you know, I really want.
Sometimes that's what it is.
It has to be though. And like money makes people move sometimes. Cause like I had the song done because they're basically it was a full, they have one verse on a song that had a verse and a hook already on it. Right. Okay, sure. So I was like, yo, you down to do this? And I toured with this artist. I like talked to them on tour about this like years ago. Okay. So I was like, yo, let's do it. No, you know what I mean? Like the conversation would be wishy-washy. Sure. You know, I'd be like, yo, let's get it. He's like, yeah, I got some time coming up. I was like, yo, can I just pay you to do this? And all of a sudden he's like, yo, I'll get it done today.
Right now. Yeah, exactly.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, so, for sure. And I think that that's like fair too. Like even for people, you know, that reach out to me,
you shouldn't expect anything for free ever, to be honest.
No, I agree. But like there is like a certain amount of like you can bring value to the table. So it doesn't always have to be, you know, it doesn't always have to be monetary, but like you need to be self-aware to be like, you know, what am I actually bringing to the table? And if it's not an even playing field, then like you shouldn't expect somebody to do something for free unless you've put in that work or again, have some different value to bring to the table.
Yeah, and another thing that providing value is everything, dude, because the reason my network is so strong from the jump is because I came in the game as a music video director. Right. And I was always releasing music on the side and I had a moment of success with music, but I still was directing music. So like music videos. So I was able to like.
You had a different angle.
I had an angle where, you know, I was already directing music videos for a lot of these guys that I work with now. And then I was just like.
Hey, now I do this.
I was like, yo, I make music. Would you hop on this? And I had the relationship. They're like, like would love to see this happen. So
well, there's also like a certain portion of, I know for me personally, and I can just tell based on who your mutual friends are and stuff. I like working with good people. And if you're not, I don't like working with you because it's a nightmare. But also like there's when you get a little bit further up in music, I'm obviously not at the top of the mountain, but like the circles become very small.
Oh, everybody knows everybody.
Exactly.
Too.
And so like there is a huge portion of like just be nice because like your reputation is everything.
Yeah, dude. Like literally, dude, it literally is so important.
It's
like
so important.
It is important to be kind to everybody. And like I think the era of like the mysterious dickhead artist is like, you know, too cool. Like, fuck out of here, dude. I think that's uncool now. Like I think it's cool
dude,
just to be.
I so agree.
Yeah.
I'm gonna grab some water.
All good.
Yeah,
No, I feel it, dude.
Yeah, I just it's just not my thing. Like I also part of my brand too is just being like a real dude. You know, like I just like that's important to me. I don't know if it always reflects great like that in my music, but it like for sure, like for all like my shows and stuff or just social media, all that, like I'm just a real dude. Dude,
and you know, it's funny, like I've always been a nice dude, but I had an era where I was like, and it's weird to think, and I'm like kind of thinking of it now on the spot, not that I was like complete dickhead, but like I was surrounded by a ton. I would like the artist I was working with was such a dickhead that like when other people like
that's a tricky thing too.
People would assume, and keep in mind I was on the come up with you exactly. So I was like I
know
like,
it is tricky,
you know. So I here's what ended up happening there. Like, you know, there have been instances where like I even went back and just apologized. Like even for my like,
and that's good on you for doing that.
Well, the reason too is like
I've done that too.
Because with the, I'll just tell paint a little bit of this picture, dude. So the artist I was working with, he was kind of like a dickhead. He was rude to people. He wasn't very open hearted. Like would shut things down. And it'd be almost like a jealous girlfriend where it's like if I went and go like talk to another artist that popped up at the show, he'd be like, yo, what the fuck are you talking with that?
So whack.
Bro, it was so the environment was so crazy, but like I had to go back to a ton of these people at a certain point. I was just like, yo, my bad. Like I know this sounds dumb, but like had I had gone talk to you that night at the show, I would have heard it for the rest of the tour, dude. And like at that time I'm on the come up. Like I am just like ramping up. So it's like at that moment, this is the biggest opportunity that I have. So it's like I'm biting my tongue.
For sure.
But you know, I think somewhere along the lines during that tour, I really found myself a little bit because I just was like, yo, I'm not this guy. Like, why? Like, I'm walking on eggshells. I don't like this. So,
for sure. You remind me some of Abstract too, because like going way back to when you were asking me what I learned on that tour. One thing I learned from both him and Dylan Owen are like just extremely genuine people to the point where they almost won't. I was actually literally just texting Abstract about this from a different situation where he's like, it almost hinders him that he's so genuine. Like he almost won't take an opportunity if he knows something is like dirty or gross or like the person is just like, it has bad values, you know what I mean, or whatever. So like,
yeah, I'm 50-50 on it too. I'll be like so honest because I've heard bad things about people through the grapevine
for sure,
but I've always still given them a chance until like something
I'm kind of the same
with me happened. So
unless it's really egregious, then I just like really tread lightly.
Yeah, so it wasn't egregious the thing. Like I'll give you another story and then I want to pull it back more to Jake Luke.
Go ahead.
But so for my album Sample Tape 1, there's a song that didn't make the cut. And
that's always a hard conversation.
Yeah, well, it's not because of I'll tell you.
Was it your had you had somebody on it?
I had somebody on it too, but it just I'll explain. So
go ahead.
Everyone said that this artist was so difficult to work with. They were like, everyone was like, they're a nightmare.
Yep.
Like, don't do it.
Yeah.
And of course I'm like, yeah, let me try this. You know what I mean? And we did the record, and I actually still, even to this day, love the record. Okay. You know what I mean? So it's like a great song.
Yeah.
But now I'm getting the song mixed and mastered, and like they're taking like time, like basically like they were just making it so difficult. They were like, wait, like don't use these vocals. Like they've just made the process so miserable and like so hard that I was like, the whole album's mixed and mastered minus this one song at this point. It's it's missing the window.
Right.
And they're like kept putting it, and they were kind of being like rude and like they're saying some comments I don't even feel comfortable saying actually right now. So at this point I was like, this record's such a pain in the ass. It's the comments are making me feel weird.
Yeah.
I love the song, but like this one can't make it. You know what I mean? So it didn't make it. But the point I'm trying to get to is like you'll find way more success as an artist the more easy you make things for people.
Yeah, I agree. And just like be willing to help too.
And also kind, you know what I mean? Not that they weren't not kind. They were just miserable to work with. So that's like.
We all know these people.
Yeah.
You just. And yeah, I think that's just like if you don't want to do it, just don't do it.
Yeah. What's some advice you'd have for an artist on the come up right now?
Just keep your head down and figure out like. I think like the initial thing is figure out what you're good at and then stick to that and double down on that. And then just like start building your pieces, like all the pieces that you need slowly but surely. But it's just like you can't really. I mean, there's like an element in the beginning of just like figuring yourself out, finding your own sound, you know, all of that, figuring out what your like branding is and, you know, what you're about. Once you kind of figure that out through trial and error, you just got to like hone in on it, and put your head down and get to work.
No, it's the truth, dude.
It literally is
like,
what it is.
Yeah. And then, you know, because you're kind of interesting in the fact where it's like you took a step away for a second. Do you have advice for an artist that might have taken a step away that wants to get back to it?
Yeah, it's never too late. It's literally, I feel like I see that more and more, especially now with the age of the internet. Like, you don't need a label to tell you that you're good enough now. It's like, you got a phone? Cool, you can shoot content. You got an SM7B and a Focusrite? Cool, you can start making songs, you know? Like, I cut my biggest song to date on an SM7B and a Focusrite. I have nicer stuff now. This is such a common story, but I have nicer stuff now. But that's not what it is. It's about like the raw emotion a lot of times or whatever.
And timing too sometimes.
Involved, but yeah, that's true.
And like there's also a little bit of luck in there too. I mean, you can like
definitely is.
You know what I mean? You can
certain
do all the
things
hard
become
work.
hot and stuff. Like you can't.
Yeah, because
control everything.
Dude, the biggest song I have to date, 11 million streams. Yeah. $50 mix. Yeah. Wasn't cut on anything crazy, dude. Yeah, like. Right. I'm out here spending way more per 50 State song at this point.
Right.
Just because like in my eyes, like, you know, I want the quality to be a certain thing.
For sure.
But it's like, you know, my overhead is now like the overhead for my first album I did.
Yep.
$700.
Yeah.
That one song made 40 grand. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like, dude.
Well, and I think there's something to be said about that too, though, for like.
Normally I wouldn't drop the numbers, but I'm just like, yo, you can work with what you got. Like,
no, I agree. Yeah. What I'm saying is I think like as people get bigger, sometimes like you should be willing to like figure out how to do it with less. You know what I mean?
Even
'Cause
me
I'm like,
included, to be honest with you, sometimes.
yeah, we were kind of just talking about this, but I'm
Yeah.
like, sometimes it's nice to be able to level up your stuff to have nice stuff or whatever. But like at the end of the day, it is a business. So it's like, it's money in, money out.
Yeah.
You know, and you can shoot yourself in the foot by just spending too much on things that really don't move the needle or you don't really need.
That's true, dude. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's like, it's kind
It's
of
tough, though.
It's a give and take too,
Yeah.
because sometimes like if you have a vision, you got to see the vision through. You know what I mean? That's how
For
I feel
sure.
about the 50 States
For sure.
project, where it's
I
like,
agree.
it's a little bit more of an expense that I would like to take on.
Yeah.
But it's cool. And like,
It's such a cool like thing though that nobody's done and like
after it's done, I'll get to say I did it, and then I can
Yeah,
figure out
for
whatever.
sure,
You know,
for
I can
sure.
if I need to course correct on the next thing, I can do that. You know what I mean?
Nah.
But like, there's so much cool that
I
like,
know what you mean.
dude, a fun thing too, and like not to sidetrack it, but like kind of going back to network, dude. This is like such a dumb thing, but Ryan Oak's transmission or something broke in the middle of Utah yesterday.
Oh, I saw that. Yeah.
I'm like, yo, I have a friend in Utah
Yeah,
now,
dude.
actually, and I
know,
hit up.
That's nice about touring.
Dude,
meet
well,
people.
not even touring, just like I do from there, but like even the 50 States project,
Oh,
dude.
oh,
So
yeah,
I
sure.
So I
Okay.
reached out to the 50 States artist, Anxiety, and I
Yep.
was like, yo, you got a mechanic for my boy Ryan?
Yeah.
And he's like, I just put him in touch right now, dude. So I was like,
that's so great.
but it's cool. So that's like,
Yeah.
my network has gone up this year, even
Yeah.
though, you know, I talked about the streams earlier, but
sure.
you
For
know,
sure.
what's a big goal for you? Like, what do you want to see happen next for you?
I would say I had one thing that I wanted to say. Let me get to this and then I'll say
Yeah.
that or whatever. I just wanted to interject something because I wanted to tell you a story that I didn't know if you knew about. I would say my goals for this year, I would say I really had my last year goals were to level up on streaming. I've kind of done that. I'm going to continue to do that now that I feel like I have like the pieces in place to try and keep that moving. My goal really for the next 2 years, I would say, are doubling down on doing tours and shows. Because I just feel like I had said before, I feel like it's something that they can't take away from you. Just like building that part of the business.
It's really true, dude.
Yeah.
Because these algorithms change.
That's what I mean.
Yeah.
Like my specific goals, I'll throw it on camera so people can hold me accountable. I'm trying to do minimum 50 dates next year.
I think you can do it, dude. That's like I think
it's
that's like
possible
I
for
think that
sure.
is very possible,
Yeah,
dude. You
for
really
sure.
got like 3-4 tours. You probably could like
You could knock that out in 2.
That's what I'm saying.
almost,
Depending on the
yeah.
dates,
For sure. It all depends on the size of the artist and if they're willing to let you get on and all that.
Yeah, I've done a tour with Watsky that's like legitimately 50 dates. You know what I mean?
And that's crazy.
Yeah.
But you can also say like, I just want to take this many or whatever.
Yeah, that's true.
But, yeah. Well, this is actually a good segue into the
story.
What I was going to say.
Yeah, I want to hear
so-
this, dude.
I don't think you know about this, but
I'm excited to hear about it, dude.
so I had made a decision last year, in like, I don't know, I don't remember what time. This was maybe in the spring or something like that. But I wanted to start doing live as much as possible. Out of the blue, I have. Do you know who Moosh and Twist is?
Of course I know. I have a fun Moosh and Twist story too, but yours first, dude.
So mine's specifically about Moosh, or as I like to call him, Mooch. I'll explain. But
Yeah, Philly dudes, dude.
yeah, man. So he reached out to me to hop on a tour, and I was like, all right. And then so I had toured with Cam. That's the only experience I had thus far. And so I start asking him questions or whatever, because he was like, yo, I got these dates. Do you want to hop on? It'd be this, or whatever. And so I just asked him like a laundry list of questions. And then he's like, you know what? Let me just call you. So he called me. We talked about a whole bunch of stuff or whatever about the logistics of the tour and stuff like that. And I was even kind of like pushing back on like some details just because I had been in around it, where I was like as an example, he wanted to bring a drummer, but he was going to bring like a bunch of people. And I was like, you sure you're not going to bring a trailer or something? Like whatever, just like certain questions.
Logistics.
Yeah, but it's like very important when you're doing a tour, because it's like it's questions you need to know, because then it's like, how much merch can I bring, you know, et cetera, whatever. Lots of details. I just want to clarify that. And then so then it was like coming down further to it, and he's like, this was to be transparent, it was a buy-on situation, right?
Yeah, most beginning tours are.
Right, for sure. And I have no shame in that. And even with this story, I'll say I have no shame in what happened. But anyway, so eventually he got to the point where we're getting close to it. He's like, all right, man, I need you to pay so we can lock in. So I do that. The following day he goes, wait, my manager just got in a car accident, so hold on buying any like tickets to get to the beginning or whatever and stuff. And I was like, wait, what's going on here?
Dude.
Yeah. So then I'm
You have
like,
a horror story.
this literally is. So it gets way crazier though. So I just, my heart sank. And for some reason, I'm like a little bit naive sometimes. Like I want to like see the best in people type situations or whatever. And so I'm like, what's going on here? So I started like doing some digging. I actually went through like his Venmo history. And by the way, any of this, if you want to cut out, you can. But
no, I'm interested. No, I want to hear this, dude. Like,
so then
I have a story too. It's not. It's neither good or bad.
Okay, fair enough. But anyway, so I started reaching out to some other people and be like, hey, did you get sold a tour that just never happened or whatever? And lo and behold, I found it ended up being like, even at the time, I think it was like $10,000 to $15,000 worth of stolen money.
Oh,
and then
from Moosh?
Yeah. And
Moosh, you gotta fucking come on the podcast and explain this, dog.
He can't, man. He has no.
This goes back to reputation, dude.
Yeah, dude. It's like real bad. It goes deeper than that too. We eventually we got like, legal involved and stuff like that with like other people too. Cause like as time went on, I can show you right now. I'm in a group of like 25 people.
How much you get burned for?
Me personally, I think like $2,000 and then but I did a credit card chargeback on like half of it or whatever. So I lost $1,000, which I'm not even like, you have to be willing to take swings in this business. And like, sometimes you got to take it off the chin.
It sucks though when it's somebody who like has been known to be reputable. You know what I mean? Cause Moosh and Twist, like, on the come up, like I remember seeing them with the Rex Arrow films and stuff.
For sure.
And I know
toured with Mike. I mean, like a bunch of,
that's what I'm saying.
They had shit going for them.
Yeah, it's devastating to hear. And I think Twist is doing his own thing. Like I think he changed his whole artist moniker and everything.
Well, this is maybe a little bit hearsay, but I kind of heard through the grapevine that that's like why they split.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I
can't even like specifically talk on that.
We need the Moosh and Twist podcast. Moosh, you got to do some explaining and some chargebacks.
He can't, man. He can't. Cause
that's devastating, dude.
I know. Like, well, the thing is like we started just like calling him out on the lies and stuff. And then like, he would try and tell people, oh yeah, I got more dates coming, or oh yeah, I'll get you a refund, or oh yeah, like this and that or whatever. But I just like, as time would go on, I made it like pretty public. I made a song about it or whatever and like some different stuff. So people knew that it had happened to me. And actually it's funny, I just had another person, do you know, you might not. This dude, his name's Chew. He's been on Kyle Beats channel a few times or whatever.
I'm not familiar with you.
He's doing pretty well like on YouTube and stuff, and he's a super dope producer. But I literally just had a thing where he reached out to me where Moosh was trying to work with them or whatever, and they had an upfront fee for production or whatever, and then they were trying to work it out. And eventually I think he posted it or something. Either way, I know he just didn't pay him, whatever, took the thing, just didn't pay.
Dude, it's crazy because like you'd be surprised how many artists in the business are just terrible with business, dude. And like,
that's not just bad with business. That's like out to screw people.
Yeah, like
that's like a different thing.
No, I agree, dude. That's like, bro. I mean, I'll tell you my Moosh. It's not nearly as. It's a quick, just random.
This will be a good clip.
Yeah, this is just a random fun fact, dude.
Yeah.
Well, so Moosh and Twist, and this is an example of being reputable, right?
Yeah.
So Moosh and Twist have a song with Lil Uzi Vert.
Yeah.
I was supposed to direct the video for it. It never happened though.
Okay.
Like we were ready to go like day of, like I was driving down to Philly.
Yeah.
And they were like, yo, we're not gonna be able to get Uzi for this. So I was like, that was the end of it. That's my story. That's it. It's fucking short and sweet. It's just like, I almost did a video with Lil Uzi Vert via them.
Cool. Yeah, it would have been cool.
But
that seems more honest or like.
Yeah, but the thing too, like the whole part I'll take from this is that you're gonna get burnt in this industry. I've been burnt numerous times, dude.
You have to be careful. That's the one thing that I learned too.
But even a situation like that too, it's like it sucks because it
could have been real. That was the part that was so hard to me to like accept, where it was like I asked so many questions.
Yeah.
And then it's like literally like almost identical to like what, the Abstract and Dylan tour, like the situation, or even this tour I'm on with Moon. Like it was very similar situations, and it's just this one, he's not a good guy.
Yeah. How do you bounce back from something like that?
Again, because I'm not ashamed of it. And if anything, I think it's just like, I'm not trying to like stroke my ego. I just think it's like, it's a testament to like, I'm willing to do nearly anything to see it through and make it work.
Yeah.
Make that shit happen.
Yeah, I've been burned a couple of times too. I'm trying to like, nothing specific comes to mind. I mean, I do have a couple. They're just fucking, they're all dumb though. You know what I mean?
Right, right.
Honestly, one of my first, like when I was first getting into everything, like really when I was like a video guy,
Yeah.
My first time I paid somebody ever,
Yep.
I got burned, dude, because I was paying them to build a website for me.
Yep.
And they took the money and I just
didn't
never
do
saw
it?
the website.
Yeah.
That was that. That was literally like, and keep in mind at the time I'm like 15, 16. So I'm like, that
Here's a lesson, I
300,
guess.
400 bucks was everything to me though in that
sure.
moment. You
For
know what I
sure.
mean? So I was
For
like,
sure.
fuck, dude. But you know, you just got to keep it pushing because it's going to happen.
Exactly. You could sit and cry about it, or you can just keep it pushing.
And the flip side of this is you're going to have great things that happen that make those other moments even out. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
So it's like,
it was kind of funny. This is a little bit petty, but it was just like I was obviously mad about it. That song that I made, like kind of talking about that situation or whatever. It's like sort of vague. I dropped it on the day that I passed him in monthly listeners.
oh, damn, dude, that is fucking petty, dude. But I also
It
like,
kind of is.
dude, you're better than me, dude. I might have swung on him if I saw him in person, dude. I would have like, well, Philly people be scary, dude. I'm not
I
gonna
know.
lie,
I'm not
dude.
like that, but
No, neither am I. But I like the idea of
crazy.
it, the
Yeah, it's
imagination of it, dude. Well,
Yeah.
let's pull this to the end zone. I
yeah,
think.
let's do it.
Let's
Yeah,
do
I know
it.
I got a little long on it, but
No, we're good. We're perfect. What's your message to the world, dude? If there was one thing you want people to take away from you, what is it, dude?
I would say it's a combination of let me talk to the camera. It's a combination of be authentic. Like that is everything in artistry. And then also you got to be willing to take it off the chin and just keep it pushing. Cause like you never know what opportunities are going to come from you just putting yourself out there.
It's the truth, dude. Like
Yeah.
you just got to keep doing it.
Like even this.
Yeah. Well, I want to. Well, actually, no. Where people?
ahead.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Where can people find you, dude? Before.
Oh yeah. I mean, I'm on all the social medias. Pretty much all my handles are Jake Luke Music, except for like the music specific ones. It's just Jake Luke. But yeah, no, that's it. We're on tour right now. I don't know when this is gonna drop. I'm sure it'll be after the tour, but
I think it will be, dude. Because
I'll be doing more dates next year. So if you see this, like I said, I'm doing 50 dates next year. So if I'm on a different tour and you see this, you mess with me.
You just got to check. No matter when you were listening, you need to check right now to see if
Yeah.
Jake Luke is on tour, dude.
I'll be out there in a city near you.
Let's go, dude. Well, I appreciate you coming on, dude.
Hell yeah, man.